Right. Hello, everyone. You caught me just randomly having a break from playing Project Crosso. Now, I have talked about some games before. Well, about how different strategy RPGs. Uh, I wouldn't say promote certain gameplay styles, but uh, um, different playstyles are differently advantageous in the different games. I think that basically is what I am trying to say here. So as you can tell from the list over on that side, I'm going to discuss some differences between 6 games, but let's just get right into this, shall we? So, Shining Force. That's I mean, it is a simple kind of a system, right? You have a set turn order, so um, you move one character, and then the game chooses the next character to move, probably based on their agility setting, agility stat, I think, and then you just cycle. Well, not cycle. You just step through them one by one. The enemy get to have a go. You get to have a go, and it's not divided into phases. It's just one character after the other. Um, to a degree, I would say that uh, it allows for a sort of aggressive playstyle. There are cases where you really need to be careful when you can meet some really dangerous enemies, but once you do, you just go all out on them. You can just look at my Let's Plays of the Shining Force games, and you can see how I play there. I learned I learned playing SRPGs through Shining Force. I bring that playstyle with me to other SRPGs, and yeah, that's kinda not clever, frankly, because the playstyle you adopt playing Shining Force, uh, you know, I will say one thing though for Shining Force. Um, you can it keeps a high pace on the gameplay. You don't stop up so much trying to plan your moves and get bogged down by things. You just you get to just keep going at a pretty quick clip. Um, oh right, that's the thing. I kind of forgot to add Shin Megami Tensei to the list. That's kind of not an SRPG, but I want to contrast with that. How about I do that here, actually? So, this point, uh, in the Shining Force games, status effects are they're not that important. Sure, poison can be somewhat dangerous, and being muddled, uh, it can be very interesting, and debilitating in their own ways, but it doesn't mess you up in quite the same way as you get that you see in Fire Emblem. Another game series where status effects are hugely important is Shin Megami Tensei, where buffs and debuffs are critical to your boss strategies, at least in the late game. In Shining Force, sure, getting that attack boost and the defense boost definitely helps. Helps a lot, at least in Shining Force 2, I believe. But in Shining Force 1, you get by. You get by just fine without using buffs and debuffs. Is there anything else to say? Oh, yeah. I said this, I didn't list it. There we go. That should be pretty good. Now, jumping over to Fire Emblem. Yeah, that's Radiant Dawn, Path of Radiance era Fire Emblem title. Great games. But what have we here then? Of course, Fire Emblem is kind of famous for pretty punishing permadeath that kept that. Well, that didn't really change until Fire Emblem Awakening, when you had the casual mode that allows for a playstyle much more like that of Shining Force, which means later Fire Emblems feel a lot more familiar to me. I don't have to just try to wrap my head around how to strategize the Fire Emblem way so much in the newer games as I had to do with Fire Emblem 7 for one. Now, I didn't mention this in Shining Force, but ignoring counters and double attacks during an attack move, shall we say, you only get that one attack that is launched by, well, the actor, the enemy or the player. In Fire Emblem, the initiator attacks, and then there is a follow-up attack from the enemy if they have if they have that kind of equipment that will let them counterattack the player. There's a bit of chain. Waffling. There's some variation, right? Some weapons have one range, some weapons have 1 and 2 range, some weapons have 2 range only, some weapons have more in 3 houses. But this means that your defense is actually the critical component in Fire Emblem strategies. You don't, at least in the older games, you don't plan so much for your offensive moves, but you move closer to the end goal in every map while trying to keep a solid defensive formation most of the time. That is not how you play Shining Force. Sure, it helps, but in Fire Emblem you can complete I'm pretty sure you can complete every Fire Emblem game without actually initiating an attack by yourself. Well, at least you can get by at least like 95% of the game or something like that without initiating an attack by yourself, just relying on your defense with proper planning, of course, but still. In Shining Force, that would be impossible because the game just doesn't work like that. Fire Emblem does. Now, this is kind of debatable. So, status effects have, as of Awakening at least, been, or maybe Fire Emblem 4 kind of started that. Well, see, skills have crept into Fire Emblem, and opposed to, say, the Shin Megami Tensei definition of a skill, in Fire Emblem, that has more of the nature of a uh, in in Fallout parlance, I would call it a perk. I struggle to find a different term for it now, but it's just a little pushing the odds a little way in one direction. It's not usually hugely impactful. Some skills are, far from all of them. But yeah. Yeah, right. I should say. Yeah, positioning is important in a way that it is not in Shining Force. The reason why is in Fire Emblem, fights end either pretty quickly, well, I mean, between one entity on the map and another. The entire map can take a long time, but in Shining Force, at least when you get out of the early game, most enemies and characters, for that matter, take at least 3 or 4 hits or something like that, until we get into the late game, at least, before they die. In Fire Emblem, you can get killed in 1 hit. So, yeah, actually, that is an interesting connection between Fire Emblem and Shining Force. Both games do actually employ the same weapon triangle. Now, with Three Houses, Intelligent Systems moved away from the weapon triangle. So maybe they'll keep that thinking going ahead. We'll see. But the weapon triangle is very much in effect in Shining Force 3. I'm not as sure that it is present in Shining Force 1 and 2, but it is definitely in Shining Force 3. So, if your positioning is bad in Fire Emblem, it puts you in a lot more trouble than it does in Shining Force. That is what I mean to say here. But yeah, Fire Emblem and Shining Force, I think you can pretty much contrast them as polar opposites in terms of the pace of the gameplay. I mean, in Fire Emblem, you have that permadeath, unless you're playing casual, like me. Yes, I am an awakening baby. In Shining Force, you can go back to the church and revive fallen characters. You can escape from the map and retry that without losing your... well, without having to lose all the experience points and items and gold and whatever the hell you picked up in the map until that point. Fire Emblem is not that forgiving. Let's see, what did I say about Shining Force again? Right. Oh, what did I just do? Huh? Oh, derp. Right. So what I mean by this is that, of course, you can pick any character you like in an arbitrary order, where the a game in Shining Force would pick the next character for you. In Fire Emblem, you can move any character you like in any order you like, as long as, well, until you have done something, or press end turn, with every character in your party. Then there's a well, and then it switches to the enemy, and they can pretty much move their characters in whatever order they want to, and yeah. Now, Project Cross Zone, which, by the way, is fun as fuck. Yes, I swear, and I do mean business. It is. Okay, I'm gonna be fair. The story is absolutely stupid. It is, but it is fun as any damn hell you care to mention to play. So much fun. I have so much fun playing that game. It is apparently, by the way, call it a series if you wish. The story is vaguely continuing, I think, from Bandai Cross Namco, a game that was released for the PlayStation 2 only in Japan. Then the second game, so to speak, in the series is Project Cross Zone 1 on the 3DS. And then you have the third installment in Project Cross Zone 2, also for the 3DS, which is apparently the last game in the series. Developed by Monolith Soft, by the way. Not written by Soraya Saga, I can tell. Now, this is sort of debatable, actually. I will call it a really aggressive playstyle because you work a lot more on your offense in Project Cross Zone than you do in Shining Force. There's a... Well... Yeah, okay, let's just cut out a whole lot of discussion here and just say that the gameplay mechanics are just like that. Boom. We don't have to discuss it anymore. Positioning is hugely important in that game, and why? Now, you can't really tell from the screenshot I have here, but besides the normal paired up unit, by the way, you will get to pick a solo unit. Think of it as equipping a summon in, say, Final Fantasy VIII, basically like that. But if there is, say, a character standing in any of the 8 grids surrounding this guy right here in the middle, when he launches an attack, now he has sort of lined up a multi-enemy attack here, but if he would attack, say, this enemy here, he would be able to both attack by himself, launch an attack with a support unit, solo unit, I mean, and launch one attack with from any one of the characters standing on these grids. That has some impact in building your crosspoint gauge, by the way, which allows you to launch a special attack when you hit 100%, and that's in its that crosspoint gauge builds most quickly by attacking, which is again why this game has you play hyper aggressively. Status effects are kind of almost irrelevant, really, in this game. It does impact your ability to do a counterattack. This is true, but other than that, the game's inventory use system is really very forgiving. It's almost like in Summoner, actually. except that there's no distance penalty or different distance check. You can use, if you have the cursor, if you're controlling one character on one side of the map, you can use an item on a character on the completely other side of the map, no problem. And well, you would think that the game would be really easy, judging by that, but these games pull some really interesting challenges. So when you think, hey, I've got this, the game says, hey, hold my beer. Yeah, there was a time when I just went down in a swimming pool to get some items from little chest like things, and then the game just out of the blue dropped a boss type enemy and a whole freaking dozen fairly strong enemies right in my lap. That was actually fun. But yeah, Project Cross Zone is so much fun to play. I have never had so much fun just playing an SRPG as I've had playing Project Cross Zone. It's a bit unfortunate that the game is so freaking stupid otherwise. Now, I would say that you can play this reasonably quickly. Oh yeah, right. That is a thing actually. I didn't say that before. This also has a set turn order, and it works exactly like in Shining Force. However, where Shining Force kind of plays unabridged, let's just call it that for now. I don't think that is a term in real life, but yeah, words happen to people. Project Cross Zone lets you know when a turn has ended. And that is actually relevant in some cases because some goals that you get necessitates doing some things within a set number of turns, and then you would kind of need to know when you need to really hurry the fuck up. Let's see. But yeah, coming back to this, how positioning is hugely important. When you are attacked and can launch a counterattack, during those counterattacks you can also launch these solo and support attacks. So managing your formation and your positioning with respect to the turn order is that is the key to do some really well, I wouldn't say powerful tactics, but you can get some very, very strong advantages if you carefully manage your turn order and formations. I don't think there is any other game that I'm going to discuss that places as big emphasis on your positioning. Let's see, was there anything else I discussed here? No, not really, no. Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on. Final Fantasy Tactics. I have absolutely no experience playing this game. I did try it through the magic of emulators, but long story short, I could not wrap my head around it, and yeah, just don't play it like that. But what have I learned about Final Fantasy Tactics, though? It does seem to have a set turn order. And positioning seems to be absolutely critical in this game, and by that I mean your elevation seems to have an impact on your range. I think damage with some character classes. Well, yeah, I haven't played Final Fantasy Tactics, so I don't have a lot to say. I just want to put it in here to contrast with these others. And the most important point of all. Now, in all these other games that I've mentioned so far, elevation is not taken into account. I'm pretty sure about that anyway. There is a verticality in that the maps are three-dimensional. You have inclines here and there, but it doesn't affect your damage or hit rate in the same way that it does in Final Fantasy Tactics. Yeah, that was quick. So, Utawarumo no. This is from the first Utawarumo no game that they released. See here, Leaf released it for Windows in Japan, not outside of Japan. It is coming early next year for the PlayStation 4 thanks to NIS, and I have the collector's edition pre-ordered. Yeah, remember these girls, by the way, for the Let's Play that I'm going to do of the whole trilogy when I get that one. So what have we here? I do believe that the turn order is like Fire Emblem, sort of a dynamic per player or enemy phase. So that makes it... No, I think I'm lying. No, no, that is wrong. That is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. It does work quite a lot like Project Cross Zone in that it advertises the end of turn, but in between that, characters are slotted into a turn order depending on their speed stat, much like Shining Force, much like Final Fantasy X. Now, where Utawarumo no separates itself or distinguishes itself, I mean, from the other titles in this list, is that Um, Status effects matter. Holy hell. Who would have thunk it? Now, this I believe I need to explain. So, I mean, poison is obviously a thing in every game. But in Utawara Rumono, you have very few tools available to you to cure status effects. That is, for most of the game, this character right here is your only healer, and you cannot field her in every fight. So if you get hit with, say, poison, it is dangerous. It really is. I don't think it can straight out kill you like it can in Fire Emblem and possibly Shining Force. But one thing that I will end up having to use in Mask of Truth, I believe, is a status effect that causes stun. It causes the enemy to not move. Now, there was a fight where I got absolutely summarily annihilated by the boss. I mean, we're talking, I struggled to even make a dent, and I just could not keep up with the healing. He had so much defense, and yeah, it was a massacre. And yeah, that map actually, what you had to do was keep this boss from reaching the other end of the map. And yeah, good fucking luck, pretty much. But then I discovered that there was that one of the characters had this attack that caused stun with a given probability. I used that attack almost exclusively with that character, and I just breezed through the fight on that attempt. I got a little beat up, sure, but using just that one status effect cheesed the whole fight. I mean, this boss was scary. Okay, tough as nails, no holds barred, no mercy given, none asked, just straight up hit him with everything you have, or the fight ends even quicker than a fight you're prepared for in Shin Megami Tensei. No, that is pretty accurate actually. He will steamroll you if you're not prepared. And yeah, I would say that your formation is really important. Not critical, and it's certainly nowhere near as important as in Project Cross Zone. But there are some characters that you need to protect quite a bit. There is particularly one character you get in Mask of Truth that hits really hard, but she has almost no movement stat at all. I think she can move like 4 or 5 grid spaces at the most. Well, you can't really tell from that screenshot, but 4 or 5 is typical. I think some can move as much as 7. But this character also has the least amount of hit points in your entire roster. And her strongest attacks take quite a bit of hit points to use. If you've played Persona games, I think you know what I mean when I equate it to the physical skills, right? They use HP instead of SP. That is pretty much how her attacks work. Magic in Utawarumun was interesting in the way that it doesn't use MP, I think, right? Yeah. There's some kind of a seal with Z gauge that you can fill, and spells or certain skills use that. Well, you draw points from that gauge to cast. Okay, I'll just slot that in. Fire Emblem is really liberal with its magic use, by the way. I didn't reflect on that until now. But this game, well, you need to manage your formation, sure. And if you want to play it safe, you need to play slowly. But this is another game series that does a lot with the battle design or map design, or well, call it whatever you like. But you do not always have the opportunity to do things slowly. Sometimes you really need to run. Sometimes you cannot clear a map without splitting up your forces, with all the risks that entail. Let's see, is there something I haven't touched on? Status effects, yeah. Turn order. No, stop doing that, me. Yeah, I don't use GIMP a lot. Sorry. I mean, it doesn't really play quickly, but it doesn't. Well, you don't take as much time playing it like you do with Fire Emblem. I should also mention, by the way, that in Utawarumu no permadeath, so that is fine. You can also, to an extent, control criticals, like the Gunblade in Final Fantasy VIII. That's basically how things work. Was there anything else I wanted to say? Oh yeah, right. This is very unique with the Utawarumu no combat system. With all these other games that I've mentioned so far, basically how you make your moves is that you move your character to a location, and then you attack or cast magic or whatever it is you do the thing. In Utawarumu no, your move is instead divided into 2 stages, and both can be done in any order, although you can only do one of them once. Right? So what do I mean here? I did mention the components moving and attacking. So while in Utawarumu no you can certainly move and then attack, you can also stand in one place, the enemy approaches you, and then you can attack the enemy first, and once you've done that without ending your turn, that character can then move somewhere else. that is why I thought of Utawaru no when I saw how Vakurerer played. Because the combat system in Vakurerer allows you to do pretty much this. With a twist. But you can still have the same freedom in okay, I move to this location, I just wait till the enemy approaches me, then I will launch an attack and I can move back. You saw me do that a lot in the final fight, by the way. Do precisely this. In Utawaru no, you of course can only do one of these things once. In Vakurerer, you can do all of these things as long as you have the AP to do that. And I personally think that the AP requirements for either attacking or moving were really too steep. No, I think they should have reduced the AP use for movement rather than the attacks. Come think of it. No. Yeah. Okay. So Vakurerer. The turn order I would only describe as dynamic, and there's a clear division in phases. Oh, although I have no more water. Oh, I better end this video quickly then. Look at that. Can I? No. Oh, come on. Whatever. Shining Forces Preacher. Look at that instead. So, dynamic turn order. Sorry, I just did a musical thing in between Vakurerer and the Let's Play following it. So, of course, that you had a 99 AP that you could use for both moving around and attacking. That gave you very big flexibility. Well, with a sort of a trade-off that moving and attacking, I think both used something like 15 AP without modifiers. So you could either move a long distance and not attack anything, or you could stay in one place and just go absolute ham on something. And this, I would argue, necessitates a really slow style. Oh, I thought I heard something. Of course, I didn't play it like that, and the way specials work in the game. Oh, actually, let me just continue this some other time. Right. Okay. Let's just try to wrap this up. So, what have I not said about Vakurerer yet? Well, as I said in the Let's Play, I found elevation management absolutely critical in that game, and that was because of the damage bonuses and, well, damage and defense bonuses. They were very, very consequential. And I don't know if I would call it devious or straight up fiendish that they would use this in the final boss fight. That would that means the final boss was a lot more dangerous, hit harder, and also took a lot less damage than he otherwise would if we were on equal footing. Now, with the special attacks being so, so unbalanced, I think, honestly, that was the only thing they could have done to make the final boss challenging at all. So, in a sense, I'm kind of happy that they did. Oh yeah, I think I also said that Vachorrer is the only SRPG I've played with vertically separate grids. I think I said it before, but I will say it again. Please, if you know any other such SRPG that has this mechanic, this feature, whatever it is, please recommend that game to me. I want to try it. I want to do this more. And I don't mean just SRPGs that have where just elevation itself plays a difference. I mean just implementing a freaking spiral staircase. But yeah, I think that is all I had to say about Vachorrer in this context. Ew, almost misswallowed there. Now, one thing I haven't spoken about yet is the different depths of some of these combat systems. Obviously, Shining Force is by far the simplest one. That game and Project Cross Zone, well, Project Cross Zone is technically a bit more intricate in how it applies bonuses, and I don't quite have this tech stat figured out yet, what that does. But yeah, simpler gameplay mechanics usually translates to a quicker gameplay. Vachorrer is a bit of an odd bird in that sense, since arguably since it doesn't have magic. I mean, it only has healing, really. It is simpler in some ways than Shining Force, and it still it demands some moderate pacing in how you move around, how you strategize. Older Fire Emblem games, they are sort of simple too, although the weapon triangle and effective weaponry, they do change things up a little. So maybe they're the third simplest setups. Then the newer Fire Emblem games, where they use skills so much and they have so many bizarre, arcane skill effects, that gets a little more complicated. But far and away, Final Fantasy Tactics is the most in-depth combat system in these games I've pointed out now. Where would I slot in Utawarumo no in relation to Fire Emblem though? Well, I think it is actually basically on par with recent Fire Emblem games. You get skills and some equipment, some items that you can equip throughout the game. And I'm not gonna hide anything. I have not figured out how that works. That said, I have only played through those games once. My second playthrough will be when I do the full trilogy Let's Play, when I get the collector's edition of the localized first game. Yeah, I think I have said quite enough. That has been this bonus episode. Coming up next, more new Let's Plays. See you then.